We gonna posh, moving out, little dough. Yeah, we done with middle class, middle class.
Hey guys, it's Carger, and in today's video, we'll be teaching people how to hit their hand cannon shots. So, people are really scared of, using hand cannons on console. It's one of those things where people just keep in the back of their mind, this is for PC. Because obviously, if you don't know, PC has no recoil, nothing to really throw them off. They just aim their gun, shoot, that's it. But for console, if you play on console, you shoot and you gotta really control the recoil, and that's why nobody or not many people on console really enjoy hand cannons that much, not especially, but unless you're using something like the Not Forgotten, something like the Lunas. Mostly 180s don't really have recoil, so those are the most go-to options for console players. But I really enjoy using the hand cannons on console that have recoil just because they can 3-tap, and these are kind of the guns right now that have the highest skill cap in the game, because they aren't like 600 RPM autos where you don't really have much of a drawback. There's barely any recoil. They are super high damage, and they're so forgiving. You just hold the trigger and shoot, and if you hit headshots, great. If you don't, it doesn't matter. You just aim back to the head. There's no real drawback to using them. That's why people are so afraid of using hand cannons, but I want to kind of get people back to using them, because I think they're so fun, and if everyone's using them, it's just, you can really tell the skill gap. There are a lot of players right now who just don't use hand cannons, and they're still getting by. And not saying you have to use hand cannons to be good, it's just they really show skill. So, let's get down to business. First of all, I learned through watching one of iFrostbolt's videos that there is actually a shader. That shader is the Carminica shader from this season, or Season of Arrivals, that really makes it so that you can see your recoil. For example, on my Dire Promise, if I put on the Carminica, I get a little bit of yellow in the background, and the whole part of the gun that I see is red. So if I'm aiming down sights, it's really easy to see that recoil. Right when that red goes up, it's really easy to see where it lands. And you guys should try this out for yourselves, but when I used to not have the shader on, I had monochromatic on, which is the white shader. It didn't do anything for me. It was just like a regular kind of, it just looked like a normal Dire Promise. But when I put this on, I don't really like the shader too much, but if it helps me in my shots, I'm using it. You can see that yellow there. It really helps you pace your shots, and you guys should try this, like I said, because it really helps. It's totally, especially with the Waking Vigil. You can see when I shoot that red that pops up. That will help you know when the barrel of your gun is coming down, and when it will reach their head, and when to shoot again. Because most people, when they use hand cannons, they kind of spam. You don't want to do that. What you want, especially with 150s and below, you want to really pace your shots. Make sure as soon as the gun's coming down in the aim down sights, the ADS, the reticle, is going right down. You'll see if I aim right here and I shoot, my reticle always comes down to the same spot. But if I spam, it's going to keep going up. So just remember to pace your shots. And you can spam if you make sure to keep your recoil down. If you remember to hold that button and control that recoil, because it's not going to help if you're spamming and you're just not hitting your shots. If you shoot, that reticle is going to go right back to where you aimed originally. There may be some recoil deviation, but for the most part, it's going to go right back to where you shot. But if you're spamming, it's going right up. That's one of the things that I think people have to realize when they're using hand cannons. Everyone wants that perfect 0.67 time to kill with these hand cannons, you know, where you just see Panda, Frostbolt, everyone, Cammy Cakes using these hand cannons on PC. 3-tap, 1, 2, 3. That's in that, and it's a kill. It's sometimes not even as fast as auto rifles, and that's where the skill ceiling really cuts in. But if you're spamming on console, especially, you're not gonna get close. You might hit the first shot, especially if opening shot on one of your hand cannons, but you're not hitting any others. You're not. It's just the way it works. You're just gonna be aiming, shooting around their head. You're not gonna know where to go, and you're just gonna be damaged. You may even die. You're just gonna jump out of the gunfight. You don't want any more of that. But if you use, I mean, the shader's optional, obviously, but I think it really helps. You always want to have your reticle whenever you go into a lane. Always, like I said with the sniper video, at head level. If you're anticipating a slide, anticipate that slide. If you know they're a good player and they're gonna slide into a lane, you can anticipate that. But when you're shooting, don't spam. That's going to be the most important thing I tell you. See that recoil pattern? If you let it come down, you have an easier recoil time. Even if you don't let it come all the way down like that, you're going to be able to really, like I said, you don't have to let it come all the way down, but if you kind of just, like, let it go into the general direction, you can that's pretty fast. That's pretty fast time to kill, especially with a 150, and you can 3-tap with it. You just gotta get 1, 2, 3 headshots, and that's, I mean, especially if you're peeking in and out of cover from that too. All those auto rifle bullets that are coming at you are gonna hit this wall. You have the right peek, which is what I think most of you should use, and you kind of 1, 2, 3, and you can see them from behind that wall. You can 3-peek if you want, but that's really what you're gonna want to do. You can go 1, 2, 3, and see those are the really what separates the good players from the bad players. You'll see on if you watch YouTubers like like I mentioned, iFrostbolt, Cammy Cakes, anyone that really likes to use hand cannons. You'll see on the top tier players, they're not using 600 RPM auto rifles, they're using hand cannons, and yes, they are on PC, but if you can control the recoil on console, you'll really be able to cause some crazy damage with these things. There are a lot of hand cannons I really like to use. One of my favorites of all time being Thorn, just because I feel like the recoil is just so nice. It feels so stable. I'm just going to quickly jump off the map here to get some more ammo, so I can demonstrate to you guys. But I feel like with Thorn, it's so stable. Like, we'll see here with Not Forgotten. This is pretty much the go-to. This and Luna's for console. It'll shoot, there's no recoil really at all. And the recoil pattern that it has is just nearly straight up. With Thorn, however, you'll see it kind of bounces all over the place. Up to the right mostly. Up to the right, up to the higher point there. But I really like it just because you'll see how kind of the bone especially on this ornament, you'll see it, but on the regular thing too, the bone coming out of the gun onto the right and left really lets you put in a target, where on the Not Forgotten, it's kind of just those two red lines on the side. So with the Thorn, you really have a circular kind of motion to that, and obviously heads are going to be circles. You see right there, I'm just lining that up with that dot. If you can shoot there every single time, you can line that up. And people always have a hard time with Thorn because of the middle reticle is so small, and it's not really, it's kind of counterintuitive, especially when you're aiming at someone and they light up red. But if you just kind of aim there and you keep it steady and you kind of hold down the recoil button, even if you spam, you'll see when I spam here, they're all kind of in the same direction. This is a 150 as well, just like the Dire Promise and the Waking Vigil, and this is such a strong hand cannon, especially in trials when you're trying to use, when you're trying to make sure people don't get reses. You tag them once and you know there's a res there, they're not going to be able to get it. They're not going to be able to get heavy, they're not going to be able to do anything like that. So you can really control the match, especially in comp with the heavy as well. It doesn't have to be just in trials. But this hand cannon is so strong, and there are so many hand cannons people are missing out on. 140's got nerfed, and that's why Ace of Spades isn't seen too much, but Ace of Spades, you have Thorn, you have Dire Promise, you have Waking Vigil, all these super meta hand cannons are not being used just because of the overshadowing of the auto rifles. And I really challenge people to start using hand cannons more, and to also challenge themselves to get better with them. A great loadout I suggest that really puts the pressure on you and makes you make mistakes and learn from them is the hand cannon, a 150 preferably, or less, and a sniper. Doesn't have to be a Revoker, doesn't have to be Beloved, just any sniper in general. It just really raises the skill ceiling, especially if you're used to 600 RPM auto rifles. This will really improve your gameplay. 600 RPM autos, using them all the time, it just puts you into like a bad play style. You're not good. You're just, you know, you're using the meta. And I mean, that's not bad, obviously, if you're trying to get 7 wins on trials or something. That's the meta right now, but when the meta changes, you're not going to be able to adapt. You're going to be still stuck in that 600 RPM auto rifle meta. It's really with hand cannons, it's just practice. So if you guys can practice with these and get better at them, you're going to have a great time when what's it called? Beyond Light drops in November. Crucible is going to be different with the darkness, the ice, the subclasses like that. These hand cannons might be meta again, you don't know. So I suggest practicing with them now, especially some other archetypes like bows, snipers. Even though snipers are pretty dominant right now, you want to get better at your targeting. So if you guys have any more video suggestions or ideas, comments, leave them in the comment section below. And I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, consider subscribing. I'll see you guys in the next one.